The fuel pump delivers steady fuel pressure to the engine. When it fails, symptoms range from sputtering, poor performance, or engine stalling. Early detection is vital to prevent damage. This guide covers 7 key signs of a failing fuel pump and how to test them at home. Keeping your engine reliable. Symptom 1: engine sputtering. An early warning of a weakening fuel pump is engine sputtering, especially at highway speeds. The car may run fine at lower speeds but start to misfire or stutter when you demand more power. It can feel like the vehicle is about to run out of gas, sometimes even triggering a brief check engine light due to lean misfires. This happens because a failing pump struggles to maintain the necessary fuel pressure at high RPM, leading to fuel starvation and misfires. As a DIY diagnostic tip, attach a fuel pressure gauge to the fuel rail and observe it during a high-speed run. If pressure drops significantly when the engine sputters, it strongly indicates a bad fuel pump. Symptom 2: hard starting. If your engine takes longer to start or needs multiple cranks to fire up, a bad fuel pump could be the culprit. Normally, the pump quickly pressurizes the fuel line when you turn the key, but a weak pump or leaky check valve will let pressure bleed off when the engine is off. This issue is often most noticeable after the vehicle sits overnight, as fuel pressure gradually drops. Often it's due to a failing internal check valve in the pump assembly that allows fuel to drain back into the tank as the car rests. The result is that the engine struggles to get enough fuel at startup, causing extended cranking or sputtering before it finally catches. One DIY test is to turn the key to on for a few seconds, without cranking, a couple of times before starting. If this priming helps the engine start more easily, it means the pump isn't holding pressure and may need replacement. Symptom 3: engine stalling. An engine that randomly stalls, especially at idle or during acceleration, can signal an unreliable fuel pump. Inconsistent fuel flow causes the engine to suddenly run too lean and shut off as if it ran out of gas. Often, a failing electric fuel pump will overheat after running for a while, and the internal motor can seize briefly, cutting off fuel until it cools down. Notice if stalls occur after long drives or in hot weather. Heat often aggravates fuel pump problems. Also remember that the pump is cooled by fuel in the tank, so driving on an almost empty tank can make a weak pump overheat faster. As a test, when the engine stalls, see if it will restart after a short cool-down period. If it does, that suggests the pump was overheating. You can also spray a small amount of starter fluid into the throttle body when the engine refuses to stay running. If it fires momentarily with the added fuel, it confirms that a lack of fuel from a bad pump is causing the stall. Symptom 4: loss of power under load. If your vehicle loses power or even dies while climbing a hill, accelerating hard or towing a heavy load, the fuel pump might not be keeping up with demand. Under high load, the engine needs much more fuel, and a weak pump can't maintain the required flow or pressure. You might experience the car bogging down and failing to accelerate further despite pressing the pedal to the floor. A weak pump under load can also create a lean air-fuel mixture, which may lead to engine pinging during acceleration. To troubleshoot this at home, perform a fuel pressure test during a high-load condition. Connect a fuel pressure gauge and watch the readings while revving the engine. A healthy pump will sustain stable pressure, whereas a bad pump will show pressure dropping right when the power loss occurs. Symptom 5: engine surging. Surging or bucking is another sign of a failing fuel pump, where the vehicle alternately accelerates and decelerates on its own, even with steady pedal input. It might feel like the car suddenly gains power, then loses it, then surges again unpredictably. The tachometer may even jump around as this happens. This occurs because the fuel pump intermittently delivers an inconsistent fuel supply. For example, worn pump components or a sticky relief valve can cause fuel pressure to oscillate. The engine ends up alternating between lean and rich conditions, making the car lurch erratically. For a DIY diagnosis, note if the surging tends to happen when the fuel tank is low or the vehicle is running hot, as these factors can aggravate a weak pump. If possible, use a fuel pressure gauge or OBD2 scanner to monitor fuel pressure and fuel trim values. Erratic pressure or fluctuating trim during the surges point to fuel pump issues. Symptom 6: whining noise from fuel tank. Unusual sounds can also hint at fuel pump trouble. A healthy pump emits a soft whir, but a failing pump often produces a loud whining or grinding noise from the fuel tank area. You might notice this high-pitched sound both at idle and while driving, and it's often most pronounced when the tank is near empty because the pump isn't fully submerged and works harder. Don't confuse this with the normal buzz at key on. A bad pump's whine is louder and continuous. The noise comes from the pump's internal motor straining to move fuel or from worn-out bearings. As a note, a clogged fuel filter can also make the pump work harder and produce a similar noise, so check the filter as part of your diagnosis. To test for this symptom, listen near the rear of the car or at the fuel filler neck while the engine is running. If you hear a pronounced whining sound that isn't present in other vehicles, it's a very strong indication the fuel pump is on its way out. Ensure the fuel level isn't very low during this test. If refilling the tank quiets the noise only briefly, the pump is likely failing. Symptom 7. Decreased fuel efficiency. A bad fuel pump can affect your fuel economy as well. In some cases, a malfunctioning pump allows too much fuel into the engine, creating an overly rich mixture and wasting gasoline. You may even notice black smoke from the exhaust or a strong fuel smell in such rich running conditions. More commonly, if the pump can't maintain normal pressure, the engine runs lean and hotter, which also reduces efficiency. This symptom can be subtle, so compare your current fuel mileage to past averages to detect any drop. If you suspect the pump, plug in an OBD2 scanner to check for lean codes or low fuel pressure codes, and look at long-term fuel trim readings. Unusual trim values, or the presence of those codes combined with poor mileage and other symptoms, strongly point to a failing fuel pump.